Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers. Oh, hello, Brewer fans. Welcome back. We're joining me today on set of Great Man Studios. This is, of course, great Scott Barkell and equally great statesman Vince Serrato. Hey, guys. Hey, Craig, how are you?
Hey.
Doing all right. Trying to stay cool on a very dog day of August, Wisconsin summer. As I'm sure you guys are nice and cool out there in Vegas and DC.
Yeah, something like that. Very humid.
Yeah. So anyway, the Brewers this week, hopefully Scott's still there. The Brewers this week went 4-2. They had a 6-game homestand. They took 2-3 against the Reds and 2-3 against the Pirates. Successful weeks. We're hanging right in there, the wild card race. I would like to point out real quick before you throw it out for discussion, there were two what I call epic games this week. One was an epic loss, which is against the Reds. Earlier in the week, our one loss at home against them, which included the fourth inning against the Reds on, I believe it was last Tuesday, was the single most ridiculous half inning I've ever seen in baseball. And then, of course, epic win against the Pirates on Friday night where we scored 4 runs in the bottom of the first, and we proceeded to not score any runs for like the next 14 innings, and then decided to come from behind and win with a 3-run rally, which included a 2-out walk by Jordan Lyles. He was the only person available to hit, and then Eric Kraft a 2-run single to tie it. And then, of course, Orlando Arcia with a walk-off single to win it in the bottom of the 15th inning. That's pretty epic for anyone who's at that game. All 30 of you people, I must assume, were also Brew Review podcast listeners, so thanks for tuning in. What are you guys' thoughts on the week and the Brewers' prospects going forward in their playoff race?
I mean, it was a good week if we're winning more games than we're losing, and to take both series is, I think, it's a good thing. And that goes with every series, so it can't get too worked up over just one loss. But I'm glad to win both series. And I would classify them as must-win series. I don't think that we're at the point where there's must-win games yet, but I do think there's must-win series where we can't lose a series at this point in the year to the Reds. We really can't lose a series to a team like the Pirates either. So I was very excited that we at least, were able to win both series and have a 4-2 week.
Yeah, unfortunately, over the last 10 games, we are 5-5, and both the Cubs and Cardinals were 7-3. So even though we were good, for the last few games, just looking at the last 10 anyway, we still weren't good enough. It's almost like a coin flip whether or not we're going to make the playoffs. Just looking at the wild card, I'm definitely not assuming that the Cubs are going to win the division, but just for fun, let's play along and say that. It's going to come down to 2 of the 5 teams that are going to make it. It's going to be us, the Cardinals, the Rockies, the Phillies, and the Dodgers. 2 of those 5 are going to make it. So, going to be
you're right on, Scotty, but I really don't think that the Cubs are going to be able to stay as hot as they are, and obviously they're a very good team. I think at the end of the day, they do have what it takes to win the division. Not to say that we couldn't, but they're obviously a very talented team. That being said, I just don't think they can continue at this pace for, the last 5 weeks of the year. So, I don't know. I think that as long as we the Brewers continue to win series, I think that we're going to be right in there in that last week of the year, going into that final series against Detroit. But I guess the real question, like you were just saying, it's all these other teams are also right in the mix. So it's just a matter of who's hot, I guess, right at the end of the year.
And I know that we have 6 games left on the schedule still against the Cubs in September. I feel that if we win all 6 of those games, I still feel like we can win the division. But if we don't, then not so much. That's really the reality of where we're at. So the Brewer fans can take that for what it's worth. It is interesting to point out, Scott says a coin flip. I'm feeling more like the glass seems more half empty than half full. obviously when we started with our glass 3/4 of the way full most of the year, leading the division for most of the year, it seems like our water is slowly just leaking out, and we're trying to hold on to enough water so that we stay over the halfway mark and make the wild card. It seems like, we're not as hot as the other teams. With that being said, I don't want to throw a percentage out there, but the bottom line is we have to be, of these 5 teams that you mentioned, I'm glad you pointed those out, Scott, we have to be better than, or play better for the rest of the year going forward than 2 of those 5 teams. Obviously, it's not unheard of. And looking at on a per-team basis, just looking, because obviously there's small factors because the Dodgers and even the Phillies would probably still win their division, but let's just say that the Braves and Diamondbacks are able to hold their couple-game leads in their division as of right now. You're looking at the Dodgers, in my opinion, as have a superior team than the Brewers. I don't think too many Brewer fans will argue that. And then I actually think the Phillies are on par with us, possibly slightly better. And then you get to the Cardinals, who I think we're better than the Cardinals. And I also feel that we're better than the Rockies. However, the Cardinals are smoking hot right now. So where does that leave us? I would say those 5 teams are right in the middle of the pack. We have to take care of business against the Cardinals and the Cubs, and we have to outplay basically the Dodgers and the Phillies. That's kind of looking like a pretty tall task. I think the Brewers can do it, but I'm not so sure. So, what are your overall thoughts on those teams, and whether or not you agree with my analysis on where we stand amongst those 5 quote unquote contenders for the 2 wild card spots?
I don't know. For me, anyway, I literally just think that it's basically a toss-up. I would say that of all those teams, we're probably sitting right around second or third best out of 5, and unfortunately, first and second are the only ones that are going to make it. The either dream or nightmare scenario, depending on how you look at it, would be if both the Brewers and Cardinals made the wild card, and for whatever reason, we had the better record and they had to come to Miller Park and we actually beat them. That would be the dream scenario. Of course, the nightmare scenario is kind of the exact opposite. But I don't want to see them in the playoffs whatsoever. And if they are in the playoffs, I don't want to play them. So.
Yeah. We don't have the best of track records against the Cardinals in postseason baseball. So there is that.
I say bring them on. Sorry to interrupt. I say bring them on. I want to beat the Cardinals in the playoffs to get that freaking ghost or that monkey or whatever you want to call it out of our ghost out of our closet or a monkey off our back or whatever. I want to be able to just say they're Cardinals. We got to beat them. To take that next level. It's not just having a better record than them. Going into the playoffs. So we got to beat them. It's just disgusting to me.
Yeah.
Sorry for the tangent.
Yeah, no, that's it's just that we've had a lot of problems with the Cardinals in the postseason in the past. So I think that it would be fine to play them, but at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily be looking forward to that game. They have a history of playing clutch in the playoffs and the postseason generally, and I think that our 2011 Brewers team was a way better team than the 2011 Cardinals, and yet they were still able to beat us in the postseason and go on with the World Series that year. So. Certainly not our team. I wouldn't necessarily want to mess with them in the postseason if possible. But, one thing to get back to your original point, though, Craig, if the Brewers just go 17-13 the rest of the year, which I think is highly doable, we finished with 90 wins. And I know there's other teams that can look at that, and put up similar numbers and be right there too. But I have to think that 90 wins is going to get us into the playoffs. And I also think that 90 wins is very doable. 17-13 is not unheard of for this team if we just win series. So I'll go back to that point and just say if the Brewers can consistently win series at this point, especially with so many games remaining against the National League Central, I think that we could see the Brewers in the postseason in a few weeks.
And I think that's the part that's actually probably the most frustrating is that, at one point this team was 18 games over 500, which would have put them on pace for, I believe, exactly 90 wins. And we kind of thought at the time, I forget when their high water mark was that June, July? I can't remember. But anyway.
I think it was go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I was just Okay, so all this team has to do is play 500 ball, and they're going to make the playoffs, and they haven't done that, and that's really, really disappointing. I mean, when you think of the potential that you thought that this team, the way that they were trending, and now when you see them kind of trending downward, yeah, it's a little bit, I guess it's disappointing.
Well, no, that's what I'm talking about, the water draining out of the glass, because the last 3 months, that's 3 of the 5 months of the season, the last 3 months combined, the Brewers are playing under 500. So it is what it is. We actually have a great start. I mean, it's just so frustrating, like the carbon copy of last year. I don't know what position I'd rather be in, like, start off slow and then get hot and then catch up. I mean, it's just like, how many more seasons are we going to do this where we start off well and just tank? Because that's what it kind of feels like. It's a slow drain, a slow tank. And we're just not playing as well. And obviously we knew our bullpen was going to come back down to earth and other factors. And, I mean, in a weird way, the Brewers, for the most part, have been able to avoid kind of major injuries to a lot of their key players, actually, this year, outside of the things that, like Braun and Staines come up with. But for the most part, outside of not getting Nelson back, they're really a moving suitor for the year. There hasn't – I mean, our key guys, like in the rotation, Anderson, Chacin, and most of those guys have stayed healthy. And the same thing, obviously, our core of Yelich and Kane. What would our team be like if we didn't acquire those guys? I think Scott was talking to me, if Broxton and Santana were in place instead of those guys, I don't think we'd be anywhere near talking about contending for a wild card. But
we do have those guys, and we do have those guys, and a lot of the other teams can say the same about some acquisitions as well. I didn't mean to interrupt you, though, Craig. Sorry.
Yeah.
But the Brewers haven't had a losing month yet, even in July. So just to point that out, you mentioned the July and August were below 500. We're 10 and 12 in August, and there's still games to play. We didn't have a losing record in July. We had an outstanding record in May. So I really don't see this pulling me for being pessimistic outside of the fact that it's, I guess, happened in other years. And I would really, really strongly disagree with the idea that the team hasn't been injured. I mean, even just the guys that you listed, that's a ton of injuries that we've had. Our whole starting rotation has been decimated. Wade Miley was out for a good chunk of the year. Brent Suter has been out for a good chunk of the year. We've had injuries to Jimmy Nelson, and I think Junior Guerra was on the disabled list. Christian Yelich was on the disabled list. So was Lorenzo Cain and Ryan Braun and Eric Thames. We've had a ton of injuries this year. So, just throwing that out there as a caveat. Yeah, we've got most of our offense at least is back. With the exception of guys who've been out all year, like Stephen Vogt, who, by the way, was expected to play a big role on this team, who was also another major injury for this season. But we still have a starting rotation that's not at all the guys who we necessarily thought we were going to deal with. So just wanted to throw that out there as well. There's been a ton of injuries on this team.
Well, yeah, with Davies being out and ineffective and having to rely on Guerra, who's a somewhat pleasant surprise. Not expecting much of him, and then even Wade Miley, who's definitely been more than a pleasant surprise, a shocking surprise. I mean, how well he's done so far, but yeah.
Well, and our bullpen too. And our bullpen too, though. Soria has been injured. Albers has been injured. Taylor Williams was just activated off the disabled list recently. I mean, I just think that this team has really been able to. I would describe them as persistently competitive, rather than glass half empty. I mean, I think this team has managed to hang in there despite all these injuries, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think the core of Yelich and Kane have made us this competitive because the other players kind of on the fringe, I just don't think are even difference makers for us. The catching position, shortstop has been kind of a black hole. Second baseman before and after the trade deadline. I mean, there's plenty of that. But I mean, in large part, our starting pitching has been kind of patchwork together. With that being said, we just mentioned Guerra and Miley, pleasant surprise. Well, now we have to rely on those guys because Davies may come back, but that's a coin flip. Nelson is not coming back, and we did not acquire someone at the trade deadline. And since our last taping, we did claim off waivers Matt Harvey of the Reds. However, we could not strike a deal in time with the Reds, and so he remained a Cincinnati Red. I guess this is a transition. What are you guys' thoughts on that? basically when you thought it might go down, were you excited about it? And then the fact that it didn't happen, how much do you think that affects the team, I guess?
I don't know. I personally thought that we were going to trade him for basically nothing, and take on the salary and just give him like a low-level prospect, and that's pretty much it. But they were saying like then like the Reds owner came out and said like, oh, well, I didn't really want to trade him because like I'm a huge Matt Harvey fan. I'm like, why'd you throw him on waivers? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just I think they were just holding out, hoping that they could, try to fleece somebody, and I don't think Stearns took the bait. I mean, Matt Harvey he may have had a couple good starts. He's a clubhouse cancer, and he's frankly hasn't been good in years, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Scotty. I would have liked Harvey on some level just to provide another healthy arm or some depth. He's obviously got some talent there, or has in the past. But, again, if this is the guy that we're counting on to get us in the playoffs this year, I wasn't really worried about it either when we didn't acquire him. Was hoping maybe, but if the cost was too prohibitive, no way. And certainly it wasn't going to be a savior. He was just going to be another arm that we could throw out there. And I don't think that his numbers are much better than anybody that we have at this point either.
I can't remember who it was, but somebody like came up with this whole like clubhouse dynamic thing where they always say like, oh no, don't bring in a clubhouse cancer. That's a horrible thing. But then they were saying, no, actually you want a clubhouse cancer, but you just want one clubhouse cancer. Like you can't have a bunch or else your whole locker room is going to be in disarray. But if you have one, then your whole team is actually going to rally together because they hate this guy so much. Right, exactly. So I'm like, maybe we did need Harvey. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know the history of all of his clubhouse problems with the Mets in previous seasons, but obviously it was bad enough that they wanted him out of town, and it seemed like that was a big part of the reason why. So, yeah, I guess I wasn't too hung up and didn't lose too much sleep over not being able to get Harvey at the end of the day.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way you guys do, where I don't like Matt Harvey. However, argument could be made, just like you're saying, he's not putting up any better numbers than anyone on our staff. An argument can be made that he has more raw talent than anyone on our staff right now, too, and a potential to show that down a playoff stretch. So he wouldn't have been a bad addition, especially for near nothing, which I thought that's about what it would take, too. So I would have been somewhat excited about it, but the fact that it was like a reaction then when I found out he didn't get traded for, I'm like, well, then F you, basically. I'm fine moving on without you. But with that being said, Corey Knebel has been sent down to the option down in the minors, and Cal Davies has been making some rehab starts in our league, but I don't think if he's going to join the rotation, it won't be till like mid-September probably at this point. And so who knows what to expect from him. So really, it's like really just shows that these are the guys we're going to battle with in the last month, and it worries me quite a bit. If we had any injury to any of our starting five, I don't even know who he turned on. I don't know, he'd have to stick like Jordan Lyles in rotation or something. Or Woodruff possibly, I guess.
It'd be Woodruff, yeah. I think Woodruff would get the call. He started for us a few times this year. Aaron Wilkerson has started for us a couple games this year, I believe, as well. And prefer not to use a guy like him, but I guess if we had to, that's who it would be. And as you mentioned, Jordan Lyles has some starting experience. But, yeah, I mean, certainly there's a lot of upgrades that could be had for the rotation. In theory, I don't know who's out there right now that would be really an upgrade at this point. So I guess we're kind of stuck with going with the guys who we have.
Oh, hey, guys, I'm sorry to spring this on you. Do you want to play a quick game of yes or no where I rattle off the guys on the 40-man and see if we're going to call them up? You don't want to do that? No?
Oh, sure. Whatever you want, Scott.
Okay. I thought I could say yes or no.
Well, yeah, but I mean that the game. Well, okay, maybe I should re-explain.
Okay, yeah.
No, we don't have time. Okay, so, all right. So really quick here, I'll just rattle through them because I don't want this to take all day. So you guys could just yell out something. Just yell yes or no. It's simple as that. Okay. So Woodruff, is he going to be? Are we going to call these guys up in September?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Wilkerson.
Yep.
Jake Thompson.
Who's the last one?
Jake Thompson.
Oh, I say yes. I think we're going to call up every arm on your list.
Okay, Jacob Barnes.
Yes.
Corey Knable, I think that's a yes all the way around.
Yep. Scotty.
Well,
Okay, yeah.
sorry, I got to throw
I
in.
agree with you.
I mean, unless he's forgotten
right.
how to pitch still. Zach Davies.
Yep. Yes.
Healthy, of course. Hauser.
Yep. Bullpen, sure, yes.
All right. Well, okay, here's a couple of pitchers that I don't think are going to make the cut. Marcus Dipplin and Ariel Hernandez.
No.
Okay. Then we got Salandino. I think he's going to be up for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nottingham, I think for sure.
He's still injured, isn't he?
I don't know. Maybe. He's the only other catcher on the 40-man, so if he's healthy in September, he's coming up.
I think he's injured. I think I think he's still injured. Even if you're on the 40-man, you could still be injured.
That's true.
It's not like the 25-man. So.
All right.
I think he's a no. And in fact, I'll go out on a limb quick and say that they add Christian Betancourt somehow to the 40-man, and I call him up.
I never try him at second base. Maybe move Shaw and Scope somewhere else.
Good idea. Not a bad plan. Nate Orff.
Nope.
I'm on the fence with it, but I think as long as we have Salandino, I don't know.
Nate Orff will allow you to call up and have a key hit for us, like in that last series against the Tigers.
I'm going to say no on Orff. I don't think he's going to get called up.
I think he might get the call and then be cut next year. No, I'm just kidding, but maybe. All right. Mauricio Dubon is still hurt. And then Broxton and Santana, I think, are both locks.
Yep, on Broxton, yeah, for sure on Santana.
All right,
Broxton for sure. I'll say no on Santana.
Wow. Okay. All right, so that didn't take up too much time. That was a fun little segment.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. That was great. Our viewers appreciate that.
Fun.
Thank you.
Sure they do. Both of them.
All right, so on the schedule, I don't know where we're at in the podcast, but on the schedule this week, just to throw out there, we got 3 games against the Reds in Cincinnati, including one against pretty much Freddie Peralta versus, I think, on the Tuesday game against Matt Harvey. So that should be interesting. We'll be able to tell right at that game whether or not we should have pulled the trigger on the trade, or they should have or not. And then later in the week, we have 3 games out in Vince's neck of the woods against the National.
Yeah.
Any of those?
I'm going to all 3 games. Yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty lucky. We're heading into Labor Day weekend here, so with my position, that means that we're off on Monday, and we will not be working terribly long on Friday. I was told today, so yeah, definitely will be able to get there for all 3 games. Got tickets in different parts of the ballpark for all 3 days, and yeah, 100%. We'll definitely be there.
On a completely...
So the Nationals have been claimed on waivers by their teams by then.
I hope so. We're hoping that there's going to be a big Wisconsin contingent out here. And in fact, quick aside, there's a group here in DC that's called the DC Badgers, and they are like Wisconsin people with Wisconsin ties or who are from Wisconsin, and they go to the game in mass. So it'll be fun. There's going to actually be some tailgate parties, and there's a Wisconsin bar out here, and should be a good time. So very excited. Hopefully the Brewers play better this year than they did last year. Michael Blazek gave up like 17 home runs in the first inning last season, I believe.
Now, I don't know if the pitching matchups are set in stone or not, but I saw Scherzer's pitching this Tuesday. So they would line them up for Sunday, but I think there's an off day in between, so hopefully they don't skip anyone's start and they get to push back on Monday or something like that. We prefer not to have to say Scherzer, obviously, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, anybody's beatable on any given day, but yeah, it'll be a fun series, at least for me personally, and hopefully the Brewers can come away with two out of the 3, or who knows, maybe even a sweep. That would be awesome. But I'm really hoping for 2 out of 3 here in DC. Absolutely.
Well, on a
Scott,
on a very slightly related note, for Labor Day, I will be sitting front row behind the Las Vegas 51. That's the AAA Mets affiliate out here in Las Vegas. First row behind the dugout for the last game of the Las Vegas 51s. They will no longer exist in that capacity after that. Last game ever at Cashman Field. The team is building a new stadium out in Summerlin. So, putting the stadium to bed.
Wow. Well, you can use your press passes to get some dynamic behind-the-scenes footage and interviews for that one. That's awesome.
Yeah, that would be amazing. There's no former Brewers, so I don't think anyone would care. But, Craig, if you could get those press passes, that would be great. Worst case scenario, I can go up in the press box and drink or something. So,
no problem.
Yep, no problem at all. That's great. And, we'll expect some dynamic footage.
Fake letterhead left over. That's do fine.
I'm sure they won't, Jack.
All right. So what are your predictions of what we'll do this week in the 6 games? Reds, Nationals on the road. Scott, start us off.
Let's see. Let me look at the schedule again. I forget what's actually happening this week. Okay, so just Reds and Nationals, six games, right?
Yeah.
All right. It is on the road, so there's that. But both of these teams at this point don't have a heck of a lot to play for. I'm going to say 4-2.
Nice. I am going to be really wildly optimistic and say 5-1. I think that we've just proven that we can definitely handle the Reds this year and play the Nationals really well in the series at Miller Park. And I think that the Nats are, like you said, Scotty, a bit demoralized as well. So let's go 5-1 on the week. Just so you guys know, I got a text earlier from our anonymous source, Tom Carter, and he mentioned that he thinks that the Brewers are going to go 6-0 this week. So that's pretty optimistic for our anonymous source, Tom Carter.
Wow, Tom.
I got a text from that person, too, and he asked if I could please talk to you guys before the show about not mentioning him anymore.
I think he just wanted, T. Carter or Tom.
They just don't even – he even threatened to not talk to us anymore, but I'm sure I'll still get the inside information somehow.
It'll be fine.
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
I don't know. I mean, there's something to be said about being the most well-known anonymous source in Brewer baseball. So that's cool.
If you're making an anonymous source Hall of Fame, you got to think that Tom Carter is going to be at the top of the list of anonymous sources.
Yeah.
In the Hall. I mean, yeah. Keeps us inside into a lot.
Should put him on the Walk of Fame or the Wall of Fame or the Ring of Fame or
the Walk of Honor.
Something fame.
Something honorable.
There's so much fame in donation. I mean, anonymous donation. I asked if there's any way they could put my name on a plaque or something with the amount that I donated. But
that's like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
So, all right, well, I'll say that we really need to go 4-2 minimal, but I guess I'll go with that. I'm not feeling too strongly about it, but yeah, hopefully we mix. As long as we don't have to face Scherzer 4-2. We face them 3-3, unfortunately, but we'll see. So, and then after that, I think we'll talk about this next week, but I think actually it was a holiday weekend. I don't know when we'll be able to tape, but we do have 3 games homestand against the Cubs coming up right, I think, beginning on Labor Day. So there's going to be some pretty huge games out in the park. So hopefully our fans will make it out there.
Yeah, hopefully we can win that series and then not give it back the following week because we got to play them again the very next week.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of games remaining yet against NL Central teams, Scotty. So that's for sure. We've got to play winning series baseball, and unfortunately or unfortunately, we have a lot of intra-division games remaining. So it'll be a pretty exciting couple of weeks here, or devastating, depending on how it looks.
I think as long as Wade Miley can continue pitching on 4 days rest the rest of the season, like Susie Sabathia did back in the day 10 years ago, I think we'll be fine.
It is funny. At what point did it get where Wade Miley was the joke because he was getting away with total smoke and mirrors, and his last couple starts, he's just been dominating. I don't understand what's happening. Well, I shouldn't say that. His last start, he gave up 5 or 10 hits in 5 innings, so I guess that's not.
Yeah, well, he had a ton of base runners, but he didn't allow anybody to score. He had 2 earned runs given up, I believe, or 1 earned and 1 earned. But he had as far as runs allowed, his ERA actually on this season is better than CC's 2008, not with the Brewers. CC's is better for his Brewers stretch, but overall, his ERA this year is better than CC's of 2008 for what it's worth.
Smoke and mirrors. How does he do it?
There you
He's
go.
like, his nickname is like Houdini.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
All right, and you mentioned that minor league change there in your neck of the woods, Vegas. On our next podcast, we'll talk a little bit about the Brewers' future AAA home possibilities. As most likely, hopefully, we will not be. Actually, it's a for sure thing. We're not going to be in Colorado Springs next year because it's going to no longer be a AAA affiliate. So that's good news, I think, for development reasons. But we'll talk about that next podcast. I think this wraps it up for this one. Is there anything else you guys want to add in? Or
Just that if there's any place where it might be easier to hit than Colorado Springs, I don't think there is. But if there was one, like the next easiest place to hit might just be Vegas.
Nice, Scotty. Good drop in, and yeah, that's awesome. Good job plug too. I will just want to throw out a quick reminder to our fans. Please remember to subscribe and follow us on Twitter. We're Brew Crew Review 1 on Twitter, and thanks for all your interactions here this past week. We've actually been able to build up a little fan group. We're up over 200 now here, and I think we hit 100 in July, so that's not bad for a month. So thanks for everybody for following us, and please subscribe if you have not yet. And remember to email us your questions at Brew Crew Review Podcast with an F at gmail.com.
all right, let's have a good week, guys. Go Brewers.
All right, go Brewers. Stay classy, Wisconsin.
Stay classy. Go Brewers.
Brewers!